me now is Ignacio Marino, a member of the European Parliament. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
You have emphasized the importance of preparedness for global health crises such as this one. Do you believe the EU, do you believe that Africa, do you believe the world has been prepared for this?
I think we really learned a good lesson with COVID-19. On the other hand, I'm kind of disappointed about the US leaving the WHO. We had a number of meetings today, and we understood that the US are not talking directly with the WHO. So, how could you really manage something like the Ebola virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo if you don't have the data?
Yeah. I remember that during the Hantavirus outbreak, which was smaller, that U.S. health officials were in effect given an exception so that they could speak to international health authorities. To your knowledge, have they been given any ability to speak with the EU or other international health organizations?
Not really. We understood that, the commander-in-chief decided to leave the organization, the World Health Organization. And yes, some US member of the government are talking with the WHO, but not directly. They're sitting at the same table somewhere in Africa to discuss the Ebola virus, but as we just heard, the Ebola virus is really spreading much faster than we could think, and this is very bad. It's a bad virus. It's much worse than COVID-19.
Yeah, much more deadly, no question. So without U.S. leadership, how is the EU, how is the WHO and other organizations able to respond? Do they have what they need?
I don't think so. I think U.S. participation in WHO is vital for the future of the healthcare globally. I don't really believe that just bilateral agreements between the U.S. and a government in Africa could make the trick. I think that we really need the U.S. back on the global scene, not only for wars, but for health.
So tell me, without the U.S., we can't change that reality today. How will health authorities be able to contain this outbreak?
Well, so far, the WHO is making an extraordinary effort. A number of people are going, or actually are already in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. But, as I used to say, viruses do not have passport. They don't need a passport to go across a border. And therefore, I think it's very important for American people, that America is actually involved into this.
Sure. What is the danger now of this outbreak spreading beyond the borders of the Congo, the DRC?
I don't know. And, to be honest with you, when the COVID-19 started, as a physician, I really believed that was impossible to have another pandemic 100 years after the flu pandemic in the last century. And then we learned a good lesson. Actually, this can happen, and it can happen again.
Yeah. The mRNA vaccines had enormous success against COVID. But as you know, in another retreat, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is winding down mRNA vaccine development. And I wonder, are you concerned, particularly as a physician, but also your involvement with controlling outbreaks like this, that the U.S. removing support for such a promising health technology, what's the global impact? I suppose it's hard to measure.
Well, we have seen this many, many years ago when there was the beginning of the crisis related to AIDS. And the United States actually removed a significant amount of money for research. And United States, in conclusion, at the end of the day, United States did not have a Nobel laureate, because Gallo would have been the Nobel laureate if United States would have funded his research, and America lost thousands of lives. So I think it's in the best interest of the United States of America to invest in global health.
Before we go, just because a lot of people who are watching us right now are following the Ebola outbreak, and they might be imagining, whether they're sitting here in the US or in Europe or in Asia, what is the risk to them? I mean, is there a significant risk of this breaking out of this part of Africa? Is it something they should be concerned about?
I think the risk exists, and when I arrived the other day in the country here, an officer asked me if I was had been in Congo or in other countries. But, if I had been in Congo and say no, I think this is really serious, and I think it must be taken serious by the U.S. government.
Ignazio Marino, we wish you good luck in the work you're doing.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me tonight.
Of course, happy to. We'll come